To us in Jesus' name. Chapter 10. It is December 9th, 6 p.m., Monday evening, Jericho's house, Pine Forest, Georgia. Rose finished wiping down the counters, then checked to make sure that all the food was put away. She smiled at Jericho's right-hand man, Max Hooks. Okay, Max, looks like you guys are good for tonight. Rose, thank you so much, and please thank your mom for the best meal we've had in a long time. Oh, there's no need for thanks. Thank you in advance for taking care of Jericho. She frowned. He's probably not going to be a very good patient for the nurse tomorrow. He's going to need help, and I don't see a way around it. I have to work. You guys have to work. He said he couldn't stand being in the hospital one more day. And since he doesn't want me all up in his business, I talked to my mother, and she helped hire this nurse. He's just a day nurse. And I mean, you guys can help in the evenings and in the mornings before you go to work, right? But when he's alone during the day, he could fall out of bed or need to go to the bathroom. He shouldn't be alone. Max nodded. He'll behave. He's the one who said he needed a nurse and not have you take care of him. I'll help him remember that. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. Rose smiled and nodded. Remind him it's only going to be for a few weeks, just until his leg is healed enough that he can lower it to the floor by himself. Once he's up on crutches, he'll be good to go. I'll remind him. Don't worry. He won't make a scene. No, I wouldn't think that he would. Still, I don't want this to get him down or make him frustrated. He's been pretty up and positive, and I have so much going on at the center I can't even concentrate for worrying about him. I'll use that, Max said. She smiled. Thank you. You think the way you guys have to always take care of all different kinds of people, he'd be a better patient? Max smiled. Well, JJ is like a man's man, I guess you could say. He takes care of others. Having others have to take care of him makes him feel, weak, I guess. Whatever. That is so silly. Yeah, I won't tell him you said that. Well, thanks for being such a good friend, Max, to him and to me. Yep, he nodded, uncomfortable with the warm fuzzies. Rose giggled and turned and headed back to Jericho's bedroom, where he'd been ensconced since they brought him home a few hours ago. She poked her head in and smiled. He was asleep. The past few days at the hospital, he'd been energetic and excited about the new plans for his business. Getting moved home today, it took a lot out of him, and he seemed a little down, or maybe just tired. She stood there watching him. Almost from the moment she'd met him, he'd been her hero. He'd held the ladder when it almost blew over. He'd taken charge to save Aunt Lisa and help bring her baby safely into the world. He'd been a huge help with the feeding of the 5,000. He'd taken care of her when some random dude stabbed her. She sighed. He'd helped her heart to heal when Mike Moreland destroyed her self-confidence. And he kissed her in a way that she'd never felt before, in a way that touched her soul. He loved God, he loved her, and it made it so easy to fall completely in love with him. He was handsome with his thick brown hair, brown eyes, athletic body, and boyish smile. He was happy and easygoing and ultra-masculine. He was a lot like her father, and that was a big plus. He opened his eyes and smiled at her. Hey, Rose. She gave a soft laugh. Hi, Jericho. I just finished helping Max get the food put away and clean up a little. I left some breakfast in the fridge. Max is going to heat it up for you before he leaves in the morning, and I'll be here tomorrow around 1 to bring you some lunch. How's your pain level right now? He sighed. I'm okay, Rose. I know that, but are you in any pain? Nothing I can't handle. She moved closer to the bed and leaned over and kissed his forehead, smoothing his hair back from his face. Are you upset with me? He blinked. No, baby. I'm not upset with you. I'm just not happy with the whole situation. She gave him a fierce frown. What situation is that? The one where you miraculously survived a 40-foot fall? The one where you almost bled out but didn't? Or maybe the part where you found your long-lost friend and made amends? Or, she said softly, or maybe the part where you confessed your love for me? He sighed and looked deeply into her beautiful blue eyes and smiled. I'd love to see that fire in your eyes. I love that I put that fire in your eyes. And I want you to know that you don't scare me a bit. She bit her lip to keep from smiling. Well, you'd better be scared. He reached out and placed his hand on her lower right hip slightly toward her abdomen. Anyone watching would think it was an intimate gesture, but she knew what he was doing. Yes, I'm carrying. I'm almost always carrying, so you'd better watch it. He smiled. My tough girl. I guess you don't need me to protect you. She leaned close. We already know that isn't true. And I need you, Jericho. I need you to beside me. I need you to get well, to stand tall right next to me. I need your calm strength and your logical mind. And I need you to use that logical mind to do what you need to do to heal. Take your meds, drink the smoothies we bring you, stay hydrated, get lots of rest. I promise, Rose Rose. She held her hand out. Pinky swear? He shook his head. Nope. Can't bring myself to do that, but I'll seal it with a kiss. He grabbed the back of her neck, pulled her forward, and kissed her until she gave a soft moan, and he let her go. Rose straightened and placed her hand on his face. I love you, Jericho. I'm so grateful you came into my life. I love you, Rose Rose. Wait for me. As long as it takes, she confirmed, and then sighed. I'd better get home and get some things done. Tomorrow is Iris's birthday, and Mom has the twins, and with everything at the center, it's going to be a hard week. I wish I could be there to help you. Well, if you were well, you'd be at work. I'm okay. I have Violet and Gabe is home, and Lena and her brothers are going to come help with the after-school program this week. There's a bunch of women coming to the center in the morning to finish writing letters to the servicemen and boxing up the packages to send out. I'm so proud of you. She shrugged. Be proud of Gabe. I'm just doing what opportunities his center is providing, trying to take advantage of every single thing the center can do for the town. I'm proud of you. She smiled. Well, thanks, Jericho. I think I have to get going. So let's have a prayer before you leave, Jericho said. Rose smiled, her heart taking such comfort in his words. He may be bedridden right now, but he was still stepping up and being a man. They prayed together, and when they finished, Rose bent over and squeezed his hand. Call me tomorrow for any reason, no matter what you need. I will. Be careful driving home. I will. She kissed him once more, and left. New scene, December 9th, 7:30 p.m., Monday evening, South Kino Estate, Crystal Cove, California. As Bree and Ricky rode home, they went over all the things they'd accomplished and what else needed to be done and what had to be taken care of in the morning. There was so much. Bree made a list on her phone as they each thought of one more thing and one more thing. It was a lot to do, but they weren't dreading it or bemoaning it. They actually looked forward to serving and prayed only that God would give them strength and wisdom and clarity of thought, and do not let them overlook anything. Young Eric had finished cleaning and polishing the floors and pews in the chapel, and then went to work on the pulpit area, cleaning and dusting and vacuuming. When he'd finished, he headed to see Jordan. He thought she might want to come over to see the church, but she was too tired after practice, so instead he fed her and saw her to her apartment. Logan had arrived at the church just after 4 in the afternoon and was surprised by the amount of cleaning that had already taken place. He'd gotten to work in the vestibule and looked up only when his Aunt Breeze walked in. She'd been getting a good personal look at the window where the stained glass would go and wanted to see the other one in the chapel. Logan would finish his work in the vestibule, and then he and Melody would head across the street to have dinner with Reverend Clark and work some more on the Sunday program. Ricky and Bree drove through the gate of their home and were looking forward to a quick dinner, making a few more calls, and getting some rest, because a whole lot of work was going to take place tomorrow. They were anxious to get to it and also anxious to know what Mark was able to find out about the apartment complex. Right behind them, coming up the drive, was Agent Ward bringing Taylor home after stopping for some fast food on the way. Her little dance practice had gone much longer than expected. Once inside, Ricky and Bree quickly threw some dinner together. So, how did your dance practice go? Bree asked her daughter. She sighed. It was okay. The dance is not great, and I'm thinking I'm going to tell Amber that I can help her fix it up. But she might not be happy about that, but it's a pretty stupid dance. Mostly just doing lifts. Lifts? Who's lifting you? Ricky asked. Taylor sighed. Well, there are 2 male cheerleaders, and she recruited 3 other guys from the football team. Ricky glanced at Taylor but didn't say anything. She went on. One of the guys is her boyfriend, and I think she just likes him lifting her. She kept saying that she wanted it to be like the dance that Gabe and I did on America Can Dance. And who are the other 2? Ricky asked casually. Taylor eyed him and sighed. I don't know one of them. His name is Quincy, and the other is Lance. There was silence in the kitchen. Go on, Ricky finally said. Well, at first I was paired up with Quincy, but then Amber told him to switch with Lance, and then she made a big deal about asking me if it was okay, and I told her it was no big deal. Lance had apologized to me, and we were good. Ricky nodded. And is that the truth? She sighed. I don't know. I mean, I guess so. I don't hold a grudge against him or anything, but I also don't like him putting his hands all over me, like when he has to lift me and stuff. I think he likes doing it a little too much. It might seem silly, but I almost feel like Amber's doing this to get to me. She doesn't like you? Bree asked. Taylor shrugged. I don't know. I know she's using me to get lots of views for the dance because she wants me to go live on Gabe's site. Taylor, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, Ricky said. Taylor frowned. I really can't drop out now. It will seem like I'm being petty, about Lance. So I'm going to do it. By the way, Mom, I brought the costume home. It's too big for me. Can we get someone to fix it for me? Yes, we have a fitting on Wednesday morning. I'll contact Gloria and ask if she could take care of it for us. She has people that could do it in a few minutes' time, so we'll bring it with us and wait on it. Oh, that would be great. Thanks, Mom. So enough about me and the stupid dance. How was the church? Did you get a lot done? Oh, Taylor, Bree said, clapping her hands together. It was amazing, and we have so much to do. I took lots of pics today, before and after some cleaning. She handed her phone to her daughter. Scroll through. It already looks so much better. The ladies are arriving tomorrow to start decorating the chapel and the vestibule, and men are coming to build handicap ramps first thing in the morning. They said they'd be done by noon, and then the trees will be arriving tomorrow about 2 in the afternoon, and they'll need to be decorated. We were thinking about doing that ourselves at first, but then we thought we'd invite the children from the apartments next door to come and help and maybe have a little pizza party to feed them. Oh, that sounds awesome. I have a dance class, but should be out by 5:30. Maybe I could make it at least for some of the time. Bree nodded. We'll make that happen. Cool. But, Mom, aren't the trees going to be right between the steps and the handicap ramps? Yes. Why? Well, I mean, the ramps need to be painted, right? So you want them to match the building, right? You'd have to move the trees to get the ramps painted, so maybe you need to wait to decorate the trees. Ricky smiled. Bree smiled, too. Bree had said the same thing to Ricky, and she gave Taylor the same answer he'd given her. Well, that would be true if your father wasn't so brilliant as to have them build the ramps using a special white composite decking. It would be totally finished, capped, white treading, beautifully designed rails with a white brick base. It's just perfect. Taylor grinned. My brilliant father. Score for you. Score for you too, Taylor, Ricky said. I'm glad to see your mind moving forward to the details of a project. Taylor smiled. Do you want something to eat? Bree asked as she spooned some soup into bowls and Ricky cut grilled cheese sandwiches in half. No, Agent Ward and I stopped at Lulu's for burgers. I'm not hungry and I am so tired. Can we pray? Because I want to go to bed. Okay, sweetie, Bree said. Ricky nodded, came forward, and clapped hands with the 2 beautiful ladies who graced his home and gave a heartfelt yet short prayer and blessing on their food. New scene. It is December 9th still. It's 9 p.m. Monday night, South Kino Estate, Crystal Cove, California. Taylor undressed, slipped on some PJs, laid out her clothes for the next day, went to her desk, and pulled out her homework assignment. She opened her tablet and skimmed through the English Lit assignment, pulled up the assigned reading, read it quickly, wrote a quick summary, and explained why she liked or didn't like the passage, which she didn't. She stated her reasons, sent the work to her teacher, and yawned as she closed the tablet. She was too tired. She'd have to do the math problems in homeroom. She got into bed without getting on her knees, closed her eyes, and prayed. Father, I'm sorry, I'm so tired. I'm trying to get everything done. Please bless me with some energy or help me figure out why I'm so tired. I love you. Please lead me and guide me. I want to do your will. In Jesus' name, amen. She closed her eyes and snuggled against her pillow. Her eyes popped open again. Oh, Father, I can't believe I didn't say thank you one time in that prayer. I don't want you to think I'm taking all my blessings for granted. So thank you for everything, for my family, for my talents, for all that we have, and for my future husband. Thank you so much for Gabe. In Jesus' name, amen. Smiling, Taylor picked up her phone and turned on her back to place a call, but frowned. She had a bunch of notifications. Sighing, she clicked on one. Her eyes grew big. She sat up and hunched over her phone, scrolling through a bunch of pictures and videos of her with her arms around Lance's neck, and another with her being held up on his shoulder, with her doing a split with his hand on the back of her thigh and his arm around her waist, and another in the air over Lance's head, and another with his hand under her thigh as he was lifting her in front of him as she did an arabesque. And there were still photos taken from the videos, zeroed in on where his hands were on his body, on her body, and one from the time they both fell on the floor and he landed on top of her. Tears welled in her eyes. She lifted her head as there was a soft knock on her door. Come in, she muttered. Young Eric poked his head in. Hey, Squirt, just wanted to check in with my baby sister. She sniffed. Hi, Eric. He came in. What's wrong? She handed her phone over to him. He scrolled through and sighed. First question, why are you dancing with hashtag QB Lance? She quickly explained the situation. Okay, so did you know you were being videoed? Yes, it was Madison's mom. She said she was videoing because it helps to see where the dance needs some work. But what I'm seeing is not just the video. It's been edited to show only me and Lance doing all of the lifts. Well, I mean, the whole dance is pretty much just moving from one lift to another, and then there are all the stills. I can't believe Madison's mom would do that. Hand me the phone. He did, and Taylor went to Amber's Snapchat and Instagram. She shook her head. It was Amber. Madison's mom must have sent the video to Amber so she could see how awful the dance is. And it is, Eric. Madison is a real dancer. She's been dancing since she was tiny, and she's been in the Nutcracker a few times. She's amazing. And I bet she's moaning about how awful this dance is. Okay, focus. So next question, what does Amber have against you? I don't know, but it seems obvious that she's trying to cause trouble. He nodded. You know, you don't have to continue doing the dance if you don't want to, but it will look bad if you drop out now. She nodded. You need to tell Gabe before he sees it. Taylor nodded. I was just about to call him. Okay, I'll leave you to it. Well, thanks for checking in, Eric. No prob. I'm being selfish. So, are you excited about Friday? Yeah, I'm a little excited, a little anxious. You're going to be great. How about Jordan? What about her? Is she nervous or excited? He smiled. She's a little nervous and a little excited. She'll probably be better after the fitting on Wednesday. Have you two decided on a date? Tentative date is mid-June. Well, that's only 6 months away. I think we can handle it, he said dryly. If Jake and Lena and Alec and Desi can throw such nice weddings in just a few weeks, I think we can handle 6 months. Taylor sighed. It's different for you. You have to put on a show. And the main thing is getting the venue. So if you have the date, you need to tell Mom so she and Miss Jewel can start the planning and get a venue. Young Eric nodded. Okay. I'll talk to Jordan and we'll pin it down. Okay, Taylor sighed. Well, that's first. Well, that's a first. What? I just helped you with something for a change instead of you always helping me. He smiled at his sister. You help me more than you know, Tay-Tay. You are an awesome person. She sniffed. Yeah. If that's so, then why do people always try to hurt me or trick me or kill me or kidnap me? Because you're an awesome person and you need to stop with the victimhood. You are blessed. Be strong. You got this. Taylor nodded. You're right. Thanks, she whispered. Good night, sweetie. Night. He closed the door and she snuggled down in the bed and called Gabe. He picked up on the second ring. Hey, Tay, finally I get to talk to you. She sniffed. Hey, Gabe. Sorry, I've been really busy. It's okay. It probably wouldn't seem like a big deal at all, except I really needed to talk to you about something. Oh, it sounds serious. Well, I hope you're not going to be too upset by it. Taylor shook her head. If you're about to break up with me, I'm going to hang up right now. What? No. Why would I break up with you? Her eyes welled with tears again, and she sniffed and wiped them with the back of her hand. Taylor, what's wrong, baby? I'm doing this stupid dance for the floor show for the Christmas dance on Saturday, and I ended up getting partnered with Lance. Gabe sighed. Lance, the quarterback? Yes, and the dance is awful. There's a lot of lifts, and Madison's mom videoed the practice, and Amber took the video and made a bunch of shorts and stills of nothing but me and Lance, and it's blowing up with really ugly comments about people knowing it was more than we said from back when Lance kissed me, and wasn't I just a slut, and me always talking about being a Christian, and you deserve better than me, and you're just with me because of my name anyway, and one day you're going to wake up and see that you can get anyone in the world, and okay. That's enough. I get it. Gabe said softly. Taylor, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. This is just another obstacle the enemy has placed in your path. We can handle people saying mean things. It doesn't really hurt us or change us. It won't affect us. Haters going to hate, babe. You know that. I think you taught me that. I know people can be really hateful, and the things they say can sting, but we're stronger than that. Think of all the things people said about Jesus, of all the false accusations. It didn't break him. He didn't cry over it. He stood strong in the face of a horrible death. We just need to weather the storm. It'll pass. Stop caring what other people think or say about us. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is our relationship with the Lord. The only thing. Do you believe me? Taylor sniffed again. Yes. Gabe chuckled when she didn't say anything else. Well, okay then. That was easy enough. She gave a soft laugh. I wish I was there to hold you, Tay. I wish that right now with all of my heart, she replied. It won't be much longer, a few more weeks, and please understand that I really need this time to say goodbye to my family. They are very important to me. I know, and that's why I love you. You understand how important the family is. I'm not begrudging your time with your family. Really, I'm not. I just felt weak for a minute. Well, I truly understand feeling weak for a minute because that's what I wanted to talk to you about. About me being weak? No, about me being weak. I did something stupid and I wanted to tell you, I guess because I don't want to ever keep any secrets from you. Okay, I'm listening. But I also don't want you to be ashamed of me, so I considered not telling you, but I felt a prompting to be honest with you. Okay, I'm listening, she said again. Gabe sighed. So, Saturday, after you left, I was working out and feeling a little stressed as I thought about all the crazy things that have happened over this year. This was stupid stuff, dwelling on those things. Very weak. And I'm ashamed of even thinking that way because, I've also been truly blessed this past year beyond anything I could have imagined. But for some reason, I was feeling sorry for myself, and there was some beer in the fridge downstairs in the workout room, and I drank it. Well, how many? Taylor asked. All of them. Well, how many were there? She asked again. 5. And then my dad came in, and I was a little buzzed, and he decided to teach me a lesson about drinking, and he called Uncle John and Uncle Chaz, and we had a little drinking party, and I got totally wasted. Taylor giggled. My phone went out. I'll read that sentence again because my phone went out. How many were there? She asked again. 5. And then my dad came in and I was a little buzzed and he decided to teach me a lesson about drinking. And he called Uncle John and Uncle Chaz and we had a little drinking party and I got totally wasted. Taylor giggled. Do you have any video? No, thank goodness. I bet you were funny. Taylor, this is serious. Oh, sorry. It sounds funny to me, but I'll try to stop smiling. He sighed. I got totally wasted, Taylor. I threw up the next morning like about 6 times. It was horrible. I was so sick. Oh, so that's why your family did the church service at home. That was so sweet of them. Do you understand what I did? You drank some beer. You're underage. I get it. That's it? I mean, do you want me to say how terrible you are for doing that? He sighed. I guess so. Well, you want me to fuss at you and tell you what? That I'm disappointed in you? That you're a very bad boy? That I can't believe you actually did that? Yeah, I guess that's what I thought you'd say. It wouldn't be denied. I was stupid. Okay, well, it sounds like you're beating yourself up enough for the both of us. Young Eric did that once when he was 19, I think. He was so sick. I felt really sorry for him. Do you know why he did it? Not really. I think it started out as curiosity and he got in over his head. Or it may have been when he was thinking about dropping out of school. Either way, do you think it made me think less of my brother? Did it? No, silly. Sometimes we have to try stuff and experience stuff in order to know how bad it is or good it is or just know the consequences. I didn't judge him, and I certainly wouldn't judge you. Gabriel Tanner, you are the best thing that ever happened to me. I love you so much. I thank God for you several times a day. He drew a deep breath and blew it out. Okay, I mean, that's really good to hear, but weren't you mad at me when I yelled at you on Saturday? We were on the phone and you went into that barn. You yelled at me? I didn't realize you were yelling at me. Maybe I need to be louder next time. She giggled. I guess so. Anyway, why would you yell at me? What was the big deal about going into the barn? It was, I just thought it was dangerous. But you didn't want me to keep Manny from that danger? He sighed. I had a dream about you being hurt, and in that dream you were in a barn of some sort, and it actually looked a lot like the place where Mia Casellas was holding me when I was abducted. Oh, why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want you to live in fear. I told your father, but I've begun to think that my dream may have been just me projecting my own experience into your life, because it looked exactly like the place where I'd been held. My father thinks I'm having some post-trauma issues. Well, that makes sense, she said thoughtfully. No, it doesn't. Because Jesus is with me and he healed me, and I shouldn't be affected by all of this stuff. Jesus hugged me, and I have no right to pretend to be a victim of anything. Taylor thought, that's an interesting thought. Maybe this is like some kind of psychic attack someone or some demon is actually directing at you. I know you've been told that you're a light and therefore are a target. She smiled. You know, young Eric just talked to me before I called you, and I asked him, why are people always out to hurt me? And he said, because I'm awesome, which I just realized he was saying that people are trying to put out my light too. I think he's right, Gabe said, and I think you're right. So let's pray together and ask the Lord to make us strong and vow to not let them get to us. I promise I won't soak my stress with alcohol anymore. I'll find my comfort in him. And I won't let ignorant comments on social media get to me. Good. Still, actually, we have the power to do a little something about that. Really? What? You'll see tomorrow. Oh, come on, give me a hint. Here's your hint. I now have more followers on my website than Isla has on TeenSpotter. Okay, and I gave you a hint, not the answer. She giggled. Okay. Gabe, I am so glad we got to speak with each other. I always feel so strong and so comforted once I speak to you. And I feel the same way about you. That feeling is one of the reasons I believe we were meant to be together. One day, Tay, you and me, we're going to walk down that aisle. Just thinking about that makes me yearn so much for that day. We'll live in the moment and it will come faster. Live in the moment, she said in a mocking voice. He chuckled. I love you, Taylor Kino. Back at you, Gabe Tanner. Hey, so I'd better try to get some sleep, but tomorrow, can you call while you're on your way to dance class? Yes? Why? It's Iris's birthday, and she would be so happy to be able to speak to you. Oh, that's right. Was it really just a week ago that we went into that grocery store and ordered her cake? And got jumped in the parking lot. Yep, just a week ago. So that reminds me, how's your head? It's good. You can barely tell there's a cut there. No scar? Well, a tiny one. You know, Dad says to go easy on myself, like for having some PTSD, because for every scar that was put on my body this year, there's a scar on my mind that has to dissolve. And I have lots of scars. 3 on each shoulder, 1 on the back of my thigh, 1 on the front of my thigh, 1 on my chest, 1 on my waist, and 1 on my forehead. Taylor sniffed. When I think of how those scars got there, it makes me want to cry. Well, there's no crying in baseball, he quoted. What? It's a quote from a movie. Have you never seen A League of Their Own? No, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. Gosh, Taylor, we need to spend a lot of time together. Watch all the required movies, go to football games and baseball games, and who knows what else. Well, I'm looking forward to you teaching me all about those things. I will, I promise. But for now, I guess we better get some sleep, Gabe said. Oh, wait, I didn't get to tell you about the church. I mean, Gabe, the pastor, is a man named Reverend Clark. He's 92 years old. You're kidding. No, and he's so cute. I mean, in an old man kind of way. And he's really thin, and he looks like he might fall over. And his church, it looks the same way. But we're going to help out and fix everything up. Gabe yawned and turned on his side. Cool. Tell me all about it. New scene. It is now December 10th, 7 a.m., Tuesday morning, Brookside High School, Newport, California. Taylor held her head up high as she walked into the gym for the early morning dance rehearsal. They decided on rehearsing early for Taylor's sake, since she had to be at her dance class at New York School of Dance, Los Angeles campus, right after school. Taylor sat on the bleachers and put on her dance shoes. She was one of the first ones there. Lance came in and glanced at her. He sighed and came to her quickly. It wasn't me. I just wanted you to know I had nothing to do with it. Taylor nodded. Thanks for that. She looked over as several of the cheerleaders came in, and they were quiet. A few came toward her. Hey, Taylor, I hope you're okay, one said. Yeah, another said, I'm glad you decided to still come today. Taylor's brow furrowed, and she shrugged. It's just a few pics. I don't care. You are so cool, Taylor, one said. And that Gabe, the way he stands by you, you are so lucky. That video he made this morning, he's just, like, amazing. Taylor looked up. He made a video? You haven't seen it? No. She immediately pulled out her phone and played the video. Hey, it's me, Gabe Tanner. I'm making an early video this morning for 2 reasons. First, to invite you to my little sister's birthday party. I'll be live streaming at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My little Iris is turning 3, so join us if you can. But also, I'm on here early because I wanted to talk about the video that was put out last night from the rehearsal of my girl Taylor for her school Christmas dance. For those of you who don't know, her high school is having a Christmas dance. And the cheerleaders are doing a little floor show, and they invited Taylor to join them since she's such a good dancer, and also because they were hoping to get her to live stream the dance on Saturday night. And yes, that will happen. So I can't be there right now because I'm spending Christmas with my family before I have to leave for my new job in January. The cheerleaders recruited some guys from the football team to help with the dance because they needed more guys. And some people are upset because Taylor was paired up with Lance, the guy who forced a kiss on her back during the football season. He apologized for that little stunt, and of course, Taylor and I both forgave him. So when he was paired with Taylor for this dance, she had no problem with that, and neither do I. I mean, that would be kind of silly to stay mad, right? Now, the cheer team captain took a video of the practice and spliced it up and made the pics and video shorts that you saw on social media. I'm sure she did that to get some publicity for their dance and not to cause Taylor any trouble. But if you read any of the comments, you will see that they were pretty hateful. And I'm not talking about this today to defend Taylor, because she simply does not need defending. I'm talking about this to make a point about some people's tendency to jump to the negative and to be ugly and to be hateful. So, if you, my awesome followers and Christian warriors, if you know any of these people who made such hateful comments, I hope you will gently set them straight and pray for them, because they need some Jesus in their lives, don't you think? Some people were very quick to judge my girl, and for your own sake, I hope you will stop doing stuff like that. Taylor is a strong and devout Christian who loves the Lord with her whole heart, and she loves me too, and I love her too, so yeah, there. I said it out loud for the whole world to hear. Taylor and I are good. We're more than good. I trust her completely, and she trusts me. And that's how a good relationship should be. Strive for it. Be honest with your friends and girlfriends and boyfriends. If Taylor didn't want to be my girl anymore, I'd be the first person she would tell. So, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Oh, and by the way, Taylor and I have a few really close friends who will be escorting her to the dance. Don't talk bad about them. They honor me by watching out for my girl. Here's a challenge. Those of you who made some harsh comments, go forth today and make it right. Apologize or pray about it and try to fill your heart with love and kindness. It's the best way to go through life, and it makes you have better days, happy days. Be enjoyed, people. Tanner out. Taylor smiled and sighed after watching the 3-minute video. She looked up. I didn't know he made that. He's so sweet. You are so lucky, Taylor, a cheerleader said. She smiled. Yeah, I am. The room quieted as Amber came in, and she headed straight to Taylor, and Taylor stood as she approached and noticed the girl had been crying. Taylor, I am so sorry. I didn't know that would cause so much trouble. I've been online all morning trying to tell people that I put up those pics for publicity. I thought putting up pics and videos of you with Lance, it would generate a lot of publicity. I didn't think it would cause people to lash out at you. Please forgive me. Taylor nodded. Of course. I admit it hurt a little bit. I thought maybe you posted them to try to hurt me, and I couldn't understand why you didn't like me. But I'm glad to know that that's not how it is. So, you forgive me? Taylor smiled. Of course. She gave Amber a hug. I just have one question. How did Gabe know that you posted the videos for publicity? He called me. Oh, how did he get your number? She shrugged. I asked him the same thing, and he said he had contacts. Taylor giggled, knowing that contact was most likely his own father. What did he say to you? He was very upfront. He asked me why I did what I did and thanked me for explaining. He told me he was going to make a video. Taylor, he is so awesome. And so are you. You deserve each other. Taylor smiled. He really is a good guy, isn't he? Well, we're wasting time. Let's get to rehearsing. By the way, I thought of a few ideas to help with the dance, if you want to hear them. Sure. I think I'm in way over my head anyway. Taylor nodded. Let's get to it then. New scene. It is still December 10th. It is Tuesday morning, Hopewood Chapel, Church of Christ, Huntington Beach, California. Ricky Kino and his beautiful wife and their eldest child stood on the sidewalk in front of the apartment complex that was next to the church, chatting with the kids as they waited for their bus. Young Eric was crouched down as he spoke with several little ones. Ricky and Bree introduced themselves and shook hands with several parents who'd walked their young children up to the bus stop. The parents and children alike were excited about meeting the celebrities. Mr. Kino, one woman began, my kids tell me that you're going to come here on Saturday morning and teach them some karate stuff. Ricky smiled. Yes, well, not just karate, but a mixture of martial arts. I was just going to give them a little demonstration and then teach them a little bit, whoever wants to learn. Parents are also invited. Why would you want to do that? Ricky frowned, trying to figure out what she was getting at. Well, they asked me to show them some stuff, and I knew I'd be here working at the church, and it would be no big deal for me to come talk to the kids for a little while. So it wasn't your idea? No, but I'm happy to do it. So you're not trying to drum up business? The words surprised him, and he sighed. What's your name? I'm Layla Kakoa. Ah, a very pretty Hawaiian name. Well, Mrs. Cocoa, surely you know that I have no need to try to drum up business. The Kino Martial Arts Studios are not short on students. We have over 8,000 students in the state of California alone. We have over 200,000 students worldwide. I spoke to these kids yesterday because they came to speak to me. They asked me to teach them, and I have no problem doing that. Sorry, my computer jumped. They asked me to teach them, and I have no problem doing that. Like I said, I'm happy to do it. She looked apologetic. I'm sorry, Mr. Kino. I didn't mean to insult you. I guess I'm a little wary. He smiled kindly, and I guess I understand. The woman looked up at Bree. You're Brianna Adams, right? Yes. She held out her hand. It's nice to meet you, Layla. Mrs. Cocoa, Ricky said, are you from Hawaii? Yes. Which island? Maui. He nodded. My father is a native Hawaiian from the Isle of Kauai. Yes, I've heard that. Well, Mrs. Cocoa, Ricky began, please call me Layla. He nodded. Layla, our family is currently working on helping out this church, and we're putting up some Christmas trees outside this evening, and we wanted to invite all the children from your apartments to come up and help decorate the trees, and we'll have a big pizza party. Her eyes opened wide, and the children standing around started jumping up and down in excitement. All of us? One boy asked. Yes, all of you, and your parents too, and if you have any brothers or sisters, them too. Well, that's very nice of you, the woman standing next to Layla said. Are you sure? I mean, that's a lot of people. Well, the more hands, the better. The trees are very big. Do we need to bring anything? A large man asked. I work for a beverage company, and I can get drinks for almost nothing. Awesome. Bring some drinks, and I'll pay you for them. You know, we'll keep things honest. The man nodded. Always got to keep things honest. Ricky smiled and held out his hand. And what's your name? My name is Leonard Garcia. My son told me about you yesterday. And which one is your son? Caleb. Ricky smiled with a nod. Ah, yes, the big boy. I should have known. Leonard laughed. Yep, he takes after his dad for sure. Well, Mr. Garcia, ladies, I see the bus coming up the street. Will you do me a favor and pass the word around? Pizza party and tree decorating tonight at 5 o'clock. Oh, yes, the women said. We'll tell everyone. How about us? A boy said, motioning to a few others that he was standing with. We don't live in the apartments. We live right down there in that blue house and that brown house. Ricky smiled. Of course, you're invited too. And your parents, and if you have any brothers or sisters, you're all invited. The bus pulled up, and the Kinos and parents stood and watched them load up, and they waved as the bus left. The parents hurried down toward the apartment community. Ricky watched to see if any of them went into Amari's and Brittany's unit, but none did. He noticed a few teen boys then, walking toward the street from the apartments. The teens' eyes opened big, and they got excited, and they picked up their pace. Man, my brother said you guys were here yesterday, and I hit him upside his head for lying. But he wasn't lying. I mean, you're Ricky Kino, right? Ricky nodded, yes. And this is my wife, Brianna Adams, and my son, Eric Kino. They all shook hands with the boys. Man, you the one that just won the Kino Challenge, right? Young Eric nodded. That's right. Man, you are badass. Young Eric chuckled. Well, only when I have to be. Yeah, and you got kidnapped and killed a bunch of guys, right? That was you, right? Sighing, young Eric nodded again. Yes. Man, that had to be tough. It was a difficult time. Hey, another boy said, so where's your sister? Young Eric smiled. She's at school. All the boys turned as a group of girls walked up from the apartments to join them, and more teenagers came from down the street. The Kinos went through all the introductions, confirmed the martial arts lesson that would be taught on Saturday, and invited them to the pizza party. And when their bus arrived, the teens were buzzing with excitement. Only a few minutes after the second bus pulled away, the troops arrived. A construction crew, a road crew, a landscaping company, a real estate agent, 2 attorneys, a building inspector, an interior designer, a plumber, an electrician, and a contractor to handle them all. And along with the hired workers who had been lured by Christmas bonus pay was the family themselves. Justin and Jason Lee and their wives, Mark and Bella with Emily and JoJo and Joey and Breeze with their 3, Eric and Shelley with their 5 little ones, along with Jeffy and her little one, Melody Keith, Jewel Joel Brooks and Alec and Destiny Morgan. It wasn't everybody, but it was a good start. And Logan would join later. Jordan would arrive by 5. Taylor would arrive by 6. Both the Davises and the rest of the Keith family would be there as soon as school was out. There was almost too many hands. Most of the women and children headed to upstairs classrooms to clean, organize, and decorate. Alec, Mark, and JoJo headed to the motel. Eric headed to the church office. Eric headed to the church office to assess and clean and see what was needed. The designer and Bree headed to Reverend Clark's home. Breeze sat in the chapel finishing her sketch, which she hoped to turn over to the stained glass company before noon. Bella and Destiny, both pregnant, used the vestibule area to organize the decorations, the ones for the trees in one place, and then separating out the ones for the chapel, and for the vestibule, and the wreaths for the doors and the lights. And they yelled at Alec as he came through for a moment and asked him to move the large boxes that held the nativity into the chapel for them, and they would unpack, assemble it, and place it. Jewel went downstairs to the kitchen and took measurements for a new stove and refrigerator. If she hadn't just done something similar with Ricky for her restaurant, she'd be way over her head, but that little bit of experience gave her the confidence she needed in order to plan the kitchen area. She even made some plans to rearrange a few things to make it a more workable space. By Thursday, the new stove, refrigerator, and counters should be installed. She smiled. How much fun was this? After Reverend Clark spoke with the designer, he came across the street and joined Eric in the office. "Good morning, Ronnie," Eric greeted. "Good morning. Well, you people really don't mess around, do you?" Eric smiled. "I warned you that we would move fast." "Well, I'm happy to see it. I left Mrs. Kino and Miss Draper in my home and told them that they were free to do whatever they pleased," he said in his slightly shaky voice. "Well, that was very brave of you." He smiled. "Well, I probably won't be there very long." "Why do you say that?" Ronnie grinned. "Because I'm 92 years old. Just what is it the kids say nowadays? Just keeping it real." "Do you have any health problems?" Eric asked. "I don't think so. Haven't been to a doctor in many years. Don't like 'em. Don't trust 'em. And I don't blame you, but my daughter is a doctor, and I trust her." "Ah, yes, the Nobel Prize winner. That is a special young lady. She's doing God's work, and I would trust her too." "Good, then maybe we should have her take a look at you." He shook his head. "Thank you, but no. I don't want to know. I'm ready to go home. Can you respect that for me?" Eric nodded. "Yes." He sighed and looked around. "So, Ronnie, when does your church secretary usually work?" Ronnie sighed. "I haven't had a secretary for a few years now. I couldn't afford to pay her. We actually used to have 2. Mrs. Farrell used to take care of all the finances and make the deposits and pay the bills and take care of maintenance. And then Mr. Hicks organized the Sunday school classes and printed up programs and scheduled special meetings and events, kept track of church membership, babies born, people dying, that kind of thing. We had to let him go first, and after a few more years, Mrs. Farrell. And so you try to take care of everything?" "I try." "Well, that is going to have to change. You're going to need to train someone to do all the things that need to be done." "Well, most of the members are pretty old. I guess I could ask Mrs. Thompson. She's only in her late 50s. She's a pretty sharp lady." Eric frowned. "Let's look for a younger person, someone with lots of energy and good, quick mind who can do it for a long time." "I'm afraid there are only a few like that, and they already have jobs." "Well, then, let's stop trying to think of a solution ourselves and ask the Lord to show us the right person," Eric suggested. Ronnie nodded. "Yes, that is the right thing to do. Even at my age, I have to remind myself to stop trying to figure everything out on my own. Let go and let God." Eric smiled. Both men turned as 2 women came into the office. "Reverend Clark," an elderly lady said, a big smile on her face, "Gertie and I have brought some goodies for all of you people. Those 2 sweet ladies in the vestibule said that they wouldn't mind if we set up some tables out here in the hall outside of the chapel so we can set up a refreshment table." "Well, thank you, Lottie," Ronnie said. "Lottie, Gertie, this is Eric Kino. Eric, Lottie, and Gertie are sisters. They've been coming to our church for going on 40 years. The women giggled and held their hands out for Eric to take. It's sure a pleasure to meet you, Eric said kindly as he took their hands and gave them a squeeze. So, Lottie and Gertie, is that Charlotte and Gertrude? Eric asked. The women giggled. Why, yes, it is. Thank you for knowing that. It's so nice to meet you, and Gertie and I are very excited about what you are doing for our church. Well, my wife and I, too, are very excited, Eric said. We're so happy that we can help. Oh, is she here? We simply must meet her. He nodded. Yes, they're just down the hall working in a classroom. I'll go find a table to set up for you. Why don't you go find my wife? Her name is Shelley. I'll be right back. Ronnie nodded. Thank you, Eric. There are some extra tables in a few of the classrooms. You might want to get a couple of them because they're not very long. Eric nodded. I got it. You relax. Have a seat at the desk and start a list of things that you'll need to teach to your new church secretary. I must say, Ronnie said, your mind is very organized. Eric smiled. Well, not always, but I try. Right now, I'm in the get things done, business type mode. This mode sometimes makes my wife exasperated. Ronnie chuckled. I can imagine that. Eric laughed and went in search of tables. So far, it looked like it was going to be a very productive day. And that is the end of chapter 10.